Q6385. What is the minimum age required to be eligible for a commercial pilot certificate? A. 17. B. 18. C. 21. The correct answer is B. The minimum age required to be eligible for a commercial pilot certificate is 18 years old. To obtain a commercial pilot certificate, the correct answer is stating that the minimum age requirement is 18 years old. According to Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) regulations, an individual must be at least 18 years of age to qualify for a commercial pilot certificate. The commercial pilot certificate allows pilots to engage in compensated flying activities, such as operating aircraft for hire or conducting aerial work. This certification signifies a higher level of training, experience, and responsibility compared to a private pilot certificate. It is important to note that while the minimum age for a commercial pilot certificate is 18, there may be additional requirements, such as meeting specific flight experience, knowledge, and medical standards, which must also be satisfied to obtain the certificate. In summary, aspiring pilots must be at least 18 years old to be eligible for a commercial pilot certificate, enabling them to pursue various professional opportunities in the aviation industry. Q6386. To be eligible for a commercial pilot certificate, one of the requirements is for the applicant to hold at least a valid A. First-class medical certificate, B. Second-class medical certificate, C. Third-class medical certificate. The correct answer is C. To be eligible for a commercial pilot certificate, the applicant is required to hold at least a valid third-class medical certificate. Obtaining a commercial pilot certificate requires meeting certain medical standards. The correct answer is stating that the applicant must hold at least a valid third-class medical certificate. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, requires pilots to undergo regular medical examinations to ensure they are physically and mentally fit to operate an aircraft. The third-class medical certificate is the minimum requirement for a commercial pilot certificate. It is typically valid for a certain period, depending on the pilot's age and other factors. The third-class medical certificate assesses the pilot's general health, vision, hearing, and overall medical fitness. It is less stringent compared to the first-class and second-class medical certificates, which are required for certain operations, such as Airline Transport Pilot, ADP, certification, or flying as a commercial pilot for certain air carriers. By holding a valid third-class medical certificate, the applicant demonstrates that they meet the necessary medical standards to safely operate as a commercial pilot. In summary, to be eligible for a commercial pilot certificate, it is required to hold at least a valid third-class medical certificate, indicating that the applicant meets the required medical fitness standards for commercial flying. Q6388. As pilot, what is the minimum flight time in an aircraft an applicant must have for a commercial pilot certificate with an airplane rating? A. 250 hours. B. 200 hours. C. 150 hours. The correct answer is B. For a commercial pilot certificate with an airplane rating, the applicant must have a minimum of 200 hours of flight time in an aircraft. To obtain a commercial pilot certificate with an airplane rating, the correct answer is stating that the minimum flight time requirement is 200 hours. This flight time must be accumulated in an aircraft. The 200-hour flight time requirement is specified by the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, as a prerequisite for obtaining a commercial pilot certificate. This flight time includes both solo and dual flight hours. It is important to note that the flight time requirement may vary based on specific circumstances and the training pathway chosen by the applicant. However, in most cases, 200 hours of flight time is the minimum threshold for a commercial pilot certificate with an airplane rating. In addition to the minimum flight time requirement, there are also other requirements that must be met to obtain a commercial pilot certificate, including passing written exams, meeting specific cross-country and night flight experience requirements, and demonstrating proficiency in various flight maneuvers. In summary, Aspiring commercial pilots with an airplane rating must accumulate a minimum of 200 hours of flight time in an aircraft to be eligible for a commercial pilot certificate. This flight time serves as a foundation for gaining the necessary skills, experience, and knowledge required for commercial aviation operations. 6389. An applicant for a commercial pilot certificate with ASEL ratings presents a logbook with 254 hours total time. Of that, 20 hours are logged as SIC and single-engine airplanes certificated for single pilot operations. You determine this time was accumulated as safety pilot with another pilot who was flying under the hood. Does the applicant have enough total time to be eligible for the practical test? A. Yes. B. No, because SIC time does not count towards hours for certification requirements. C. No. Only one half of the SIC time can counted towards certification requirements. The correct answer is A. Yes, the applicant has enough total time to be eligible for the practical test. In the given scenario, the applicant for a commercial pilot certificate with ASEL, airplane single-engine land, ratings presents a logbook with 254 hours of total time. It is mentioned that 20 hours are logged as SIC, second in command, time in single-engine airplanes certificated for single pilot operations, and this time was accumulated as a safety pilot while another pilot was flying under the hood. The correct answer is, stating that the applicant has enough total time to be eligible for the practical test. The reason for this is that the SIC time logged during safety pilot operations, even in single-engine airplanes certificated for single pilot operations, can be counted towards the total flight time requirements for certification. According to Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) regulations, the flight time logged as SIC can be included in the total flight time when it was performed in accordance with the appropriate regulations and procedures. In this case, the applicant was acting as a safety pilot while another pilot was flying with visual reference restricted under the hood, and the time was properly logged as SIC time. It's important to note that the specific regulations and limitations for counting SIC time may vary, and it is essential to comply with applicable regulations and documentation requirements. However, in the given scenario, the applicant's 254 hours of total time, including the 20 hours of SIC time logged as a safety pilot, meet the eligibility requirements for the practical test. In summary, the applicant does have enough total time to be eligible for the practical test, as the SIC time logged during safety pilot operations can be counted towards the certification requirements. 6390. Under FAR Part 61, a commercial pilot airplane applicant is required to have a minimum of how much cross-country experience? A. 30 hours. B. 40 hours. C. 50 hours. The correct answer is C. Under FAR Part 61, a commercial pilot airplane applicant is required to have a minimum of 50 hours of cross-country experience. To obtain a commercial pilot certificate with an airplane rating, the correct answer is, stating that a minimum of 50 hours of cross-country experience is required according to FAR Part 61, Federal Aviation Regulations, Part 61. Cross-country experience refers to flight time that includes flights conducted between different airports or landing points. It involves planning and executing flights that require navigation, communication, and decision-making skills over various distances. The purpose of the cross-country experience requirement is to ensure that commercial pilot applicants have gained adequate exposure to different types of airspace, navigation techniques, and flight operations in diverse geographical areas. It's important to note that the 50-hour cross-country experience requirement is in addition to the total flight time and other specific requirements outlined in FAR Part 61 for a commercial pilot certificate. In summary, to be eligible for a commercial pilot certificate with an airplane rating, a minimum of 50 hours of cross-country experience is required according to FAR Part 61. This experience provides valuable practical knowledge and skills related to cross-country flight planning, navigation, and operating in different airspace environments.